Hi everyone, this is a quick video, a little tour of my garden which has quite a few palm trees in. I thought I'd do a quick video to just to show what I've got here. It's not the world's greatest garden at all, it's just a normal family garden here in the south of England. But I've done quite well with growing some of these palm trees, so I thought I'd give a quick tour and tell you all about them. This one here, the first one, is Trachycarpus fortunei. I've had that since probably about 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago. Tiny in a little pot, bought it from a garden centre, and it took a while before to really get going. But this year especially, it's chucked out quite a few leaves. It's probably the fastest growing year it's ever had. The trunk has certainly started to thicken up a little bit. But mainly it chucks out leaves like nobody's business, and it's doing really well, nice and green. Only the very bottom leaves are yellowing, so it's going quite well. It's quite healthy, so I'm really pleased with that one. It's sitting in clay soil, it's all clay here. I did cut the hole out in the decking here, so the roots are above ground level. I amended the soil over one winter before I planted it into the spring to give it the best chance possible. I don't think it really sits waterlogged in the winter time, so it's doing really well. And actually in winter I don't even protect it. It doesn't need any covering, it seems to pull through every year. So hopefully this one will continue to do well. It's actually in a sheltered spot as well, so the leaves don't get battered by the winds. It probably will when it gets a bit taller, I'd imagine, but I'll worry about that later on. On to the next one is this little canary date palm, which, to be honest, is probably my 5th one so far I've ever had, and I never had any luck with them, to be honest. Probably the one I've had the most luck with lasted for about 4 years and then just died. I think the winter time gets not necessarily the cold, but I think the damp, the spear in the middle rots and dies out, gets spear rot, and they struggle to come back to life, and they eventually all brown off and die. This is the first one that I've stuck in a deep pot. I normally only have them in shallow pots, but I think the recommendation is to put them, if you're going to pot them, is to put them in deep pots. So I'm giving it a try this year. Got quite a nice pot with some nice stones in. It's actually taken off quite well since putting it in there. It's actually chucked out a couple of spears since potting it, probably 3 months ago. It's not my favourite palm, to be honest. It's blinking spiky, and you catch your arm on it, but when they're bigger they do look nice. But we'll see how that one goes. Over here, this is a seed I chucked in ages ago, and that's coming up. That's a little Trachycarpus seed there. I don't expect that to do much. Probably it's in the wrong place, to be honest, so once that gets a little bit bigger I'll probably dig that out, put it in somewhere better. But again, all winter time, no protection on it. It was smaller than that. Didn't get too much of a cold winter this year, 2021. Hardly any frost, mainly just wet, really wet, but it could have been sheltered a little bit from this olive tree there. But yeah, so far that one's going so well. I'm not too worried about, don't really pay much attention to that one. Over here, another one I don't pay much attention to. I just leave it to do its own thing. It's another Trachycarpus. It's a bit of a wild one, really. I just like to see how well this does on its own. I do feed it. I put a slow release fertiliser, which I'll talk about a bit later, but I don't water it. I just let the rain do it, and especially this summer I haven't had to water it hardly at all because it's just rained so much. But this one is really nice and green. It probably looks greener in real life than it does on this camera, but again, I've had it a long time. It's quite slow growing. It doesn't get a lot of sun, to be honest. but these can do fairly well in shade. This one here, it's a cordyline. It's not really a palm tree, but I quite like it. Seems to be doing right. That one again, that fends for itself. I might chuck a bit of slow release fertiliser on it. It was really wobbly at one point, but I think now it has actually anchored itself quite well, so it's now established in there, and I don't think it's going to fall over, but it is rather top heavy. But coming up this one, up this end, is my favourite palm tree, my Washingtonia robusta, which I've had since it was absolutely, well, a baby really. Bought it from a local store called Wilco's, and it was part of a 4-stem palm, which I did pot up and had it in several pots over the years. Then I decided to cut 3 of the smaller stems off, the trunks off, and thought that would help the single one grow better, and it has. I then put it in the ground probably 4 years ago, and ever since then it has shot up, and it is doing really well. There is some lower leaf browning. I am tempted to cut them off, but with this one I only cut them off if they are completely brown. Any sign of green left, I don't touch it, because it can stunt the palm or damage the palm. But this year it has grown massively, and it's going to be a bit of a pain to try and protect it this year. If you look at my other videos, or video that I've done, it shows a frame that I erect around it with timber stakes, a plastic roof cover, stop the rain getting down onto it, and then I wrap fabric around the outside of the frame, so not to really wrap the leaves, leave an air gap, stop rot happening, and that really did well this year. Again, we didn't get much cold. If we get a real cold snap like we did in 2010, which the cold hung around for weeks, I think I would have a real trouble with this tree, because they're not hardy like the Trachycarpus trees. So thankfully, fingers crossed, we're not getting these cold winters down here in the south of England. But anyway, have a closer look, and let's just get a general size. It's hard to tell on the camera, but that latest leaf is enormous. It's the fastest growing palm in my garden. Gets a lot of sun, and this garden here, that's dead south. That is, gets a lot of sun. Gets fed with a slow release fertiliser and some palm booster, which I'll show you a little bit more about. Apart from that, it's in clay soil again, but the area was amended before I planted out, so it's got a good head start. It's slightly above ground, doesn't get waterlogged, drains quite well around here. I love these trees because they just remind me of Spain, where I go on holiday if I can, because they just grow like weeds over there. Let's just come round and have a look at the middle. But yeah, got another big old stem coming up there. Another leaf coming up down the middle. It's hard to see through this, the jungle. But it's growing really well. It's really solid. But yeah, one cold snap could finish it, but at the moment I seem to be getting away with it. Down here I've got a little baby one. This was grown from seed that I collected on holiday in 2019 in Menorca. Like I said, they grow like weeds over there, and there was plenty of seeds to pick up. So anytime you go over to places like that and you see the seeds, pick them up, bring them home, learn how to germinate them. They germinate really quick, probably in about a week to 2 weeks, and they're all growing. I've got quite a few indoors because they haven't grown as well as this one. This is the best one out of the bunch, so this one's come out and it's doing quite well. These are, when they produce leaves like this is when they're in a baby state. It still is technically a baby, but now the leaves are starting to open up like that, and that's when you know it's really taken off and starting to grow. So that will be good, but I probably will bring this indoors in the winter time because they're very delicate at this sort of stage. Got another one here which I don't really take much care of compared to this one, but now this one's doing so well I am going to have to. This one was part of a 4 trunk one, which you can see here. I've recently cut them off because it was growing so well that this one here, growing this way, would have gone up and over that fence there and it would have been too much. These two at the back weren't doing so well, and you can even see where I've cut it, it's even starting to grow back there and there, so I'll have to keep trimming them down and eventually it will stop doing that. But yeah, that's doing really well, so that's going to get protected in the winter just like the other one. I'm going to have to build a bigger frame and really keep an eye on it this winter. A few bananas, not really doing much this year. There were small ones from down the bottom of the garden that I've moved up here. I'll protect them in the winter time. I'll probably chop it off here. You can protect the stems by building a frame around it and filling it full of straw, but what I'm going to try, which I'll probably make a little video about, is to get some, you can get that scaffold pole protector foam that goes around scaffold poles, stop people bashing their heads on them, cut them and slide it over the sleeve, still got a bit of an air gap so it doesn't rot, and then cut the stakes, tie it to that, see how it goes. I don't really care if it doesn't work, at least I've tried it and I know not to do it next time, but I think it's going to work absolutely fine.